everyone. This is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com, and welcome to another special live episode. We're here live today reviewing and recapping the latest episode of The Walking Dead Season 8. Whether you're listening live via Shelf Addiction or Spreaker, leave us a comment. We would love to hear your thoughts on last night's episode. If you enjoy live episodes, go ahead and share this on Twitter right now. Show your support by rating the podcast and leaving a positive review on Apple Podcast or your listening app of choice. Joining me today is PCS co-host, fellow TV junkie, and indie author Lisa Orban. If you're listening to this episode after we're off the air, you can still leave a comment. You can also find me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. You can also find Lisa on Twitter at Lisa Orban Author. If you'd like to email in feedback or questions, feel free to reach out to me at info@shelfaddiction.com or leave an internet voice message via SpeakPipe. The link is below in the show notes. Hey, Lisa. Lisa. What's
hey,
up,
Tamara. I am so sorry. You're going to have to blame Xfinity, not me.
No,
okay?
No, it's fine. It's fine. So for you guys that were here live, sorry for the delay. You know, technical difficulties, it happens.
I think it might be weather related. It has been really nasty out today.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, my internet provider apparently experienced technical difficulties and took me down with them.
Oh, no. The good news is, you guys listening later, it doesn't even affect you. So we're golden. We're golden. It didn't even happen.
All right. Didn't happen. All right.
Yes. So let's jump into last night's episode. Are you ready to get into this?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So, my first question is, did you like this one better than last week?
I did. I liked it a lot better than last week's, actually. Yeah.
Good. Because I was watching it last night, and I'm going, God, I hope Tamara likes this, because I do.
Yeah, it was a solid episode. It was like, it moved us forward in all the ways that we needed to move forward, and it gave us more information to things we've wondered about in the past. It crossed all the lines, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
What should we start with? There was so much in this episode. Where should we start?
This is the one thing, and I'm going to bring this up first, because I think this is going to end up somehow tying in to Morgan at some point. And that was the brief reference when Simon went to the trash can people and said, and what about that helipad in the back?
And the solar panels. I'm like,
Uh-huh. Something's up. Something is up with that, you know?
Yeah, and then he asked Jadis, what was this place? And she's like, a junkyard. Yeah. Deadpan. Like, oh no.
Uh-huh.
There's something.
So I think somehow she is going to have, I don't know, something, because we saw that helicopter, and she's going to have some connection to it. I know she is.
Mm-hmm.
What that is at this point, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Jadis, dude, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me say, okay, so at first when Rick and Michonne showed up, I'm like, what is going on? And all those walkers were there. I'm like, what the F is going on? And then later I'm like, oh snap, it's all her people. Oh no. Yeah. It's like, dang.
Oh, the minute that all that stuff came crashing down and I saw the walkers, I knew exactly. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. All because of Simon. Simon. Okay. Well, let's talk about how Jadis handled that first before we talk about the fallout of Simon's actions.
The dissension in the ranks.
Yeah. But you know what? Honestly, the way she did... Okay, first, one thing that I noticed was, she had on her black gear as she always does.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And after all her people were dead, she's like running around in this white gown. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, why do you have this stupid white gown on? Like, where are your clothes? Did you notice that?
Well, I noticed that too. I did. And I think, I don't know, I kind of think it's kind of a form of mourning. The way that she was dressed, it was, very young, childlike. The very simpleness of it.
I know, but it doesn't make sense to me in the fact that all my people just died. I'm pissed the F off. I'm like, I have to deal with all of these walkers. Let me stop and put on a white gown. Yeah.
I don't think that she is pissed off. I think she is in shock. And I think she is in mourning, okay, for everything she has lost. I don't think she has reached pissed off yet. I think she's getting there.
Yeah.
But I don't think at the point when she put that, because the one thing with Jadis is the whole symbolism of everything. Jadis is all about symbolism, okay? From the way that they were talking, to the way that they dressed, to the way that they acted, and everything they did had some symbolic meaning to it. And I think that shift that she is wearing has some symbolic meaning to her. Yeah. And, you know, it might even, she might have actually resigned herself to die, and she was going to let herself, you know, I think at first, before Rick and Michonne showed up, I think she was kind of contemplating giving herself over to the Walkers, because they were her people. She has lost every person in her life, all of her followers. It has got to be the worst feeling any leader could have, crazy or not. You know, these were her people, and she had a huge group of them.
Well, you know, I kind of agree with that, because at the parts where she was looking into that grinder, I'm like, is she going to jump in there? Like, what is happening? Like, I thought for a second that she might try to commit suicide in that grinder.
And, you know, she might have been thinking about it. You know, these are all of her people. And that grinder, oh, man, that was brutally effective. God, that was brutally effective.
Yeah, but you know, the whole time, I'm like, man, that is dreadfully gross.
Yes.
But it's very smart. I'm like, wow, that's really smart. Like, you're thinking on your toes, even though that's a horrible way to treat your friends, instead of just stabbing them in the head.
Right. You know, I mean,
it was effective.
Yeah, because there is no way that, you know, even if she was fully armored, that she could have taken on all of her people. But again, using the Walker's weakness against them, you know, the fact that they can't think ahead, they follow noise.
Yeah.
It was very, very effective. And okay, and I had to say, there was a lot of disappointment when I saw her carefully move away all that, excuse me, I have the hiccups, all that stuff from in front of the filing cabinet. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's a stash of guns, or maybe it's something important. It was applesauce.
I know, and I'm like, what's that about? I'm like, that's just nasty. So you know, you grind up everyone and it's looking like chili or applesauce, and then you're like, let me just sit here and gulp this applesauce in my white gown. I'm like, oh God.
I know.
It's just gross.
And I mean, we did find out a little bit more, you know, the fact that Jadis knew of this place, you know, before the end of the world. She went to it as a kind of sanctuary, you know, after the end of the world. And apparently the entire purpose was to throw off all the ties that bound us prior to, you know, the fall of civilization. They were going to create their own kind of civilization, as weird as it was. But it seemed to be working for them, as weird as it was.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I know for a while you've kind of said off and on you love to see Jada's backstory, and we finally got a little glimpse of that. And I hope that as we go forward, we get a little more. Like, we do get to see her actual motivations for switching her outfit. We actually get to see, you know, the things behind that. And, of course, as we uncover what this helipad is about and the solar panels, hopefully we get to see that this season, you know. That would be really good. Because
at this point, I mean, why would they need solar panels? The way that they're living doesn't require... I mean, I guess, you know, it did power the grinder. So, I guess, you know, for power tools. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of a mystery, because apparently there is an entire area back there that, you know, Rick's group was obviously unaware of. And she seemed surprised that Simon knew about it. So, yeah. It's...
Speaking of Simon, so, well, first, before we move on to Simon, let me just say, I think this was the best episode for Jada yet. But I do have to say, I kind of felt slightly away about her getting out of character when her people died, because the only reason I say that is because they've used this device before with Ezekiel. You get upset enough or sad enough, bam, you're out of character, and you're plain old self. Look, you're using verbs and adjectives and everything, like the whole nine. And that's what happened to Jada. Like, she started, you know, she kind of raged and just started talking. And even when she was talking to Rick and Michonne, it was regular talking. And I almost felt like that would have made me more intrigued about her if that was just her natural state. like she just talks like that. Like I would have like wanted to know like what is wrong with her, But now that I know it's just a front, it's just a face, like what Ezekiel was doing. I'm like,
It is kind of interesting from this point of view. They have shown that each leader of each community has taken on, in a lot of ways, a larger than life persona of some kind. Jadis has, Negan has, Rick has, obviously Ezekiel has. So, all of these, leaders of the communities, they are making themselves in a way larger than life and spreading the myth of themselves, I guess is the best way to put it.
But you know what, though? To counter that, though, that is true. Their people make them larger than life. But Rick, he's never faked it. He is what he is. He goes through ups and downs, but he's never put on a persona, in my opinion. Rick is Rick. Whether he's like Killer Rick or Sad Rick, he's Rick. And same for Maggie. She's never put on a face, a character like Ezekiel and Jadis have.
Well, and I think part of that might be, too, is, there are people that are natural born leaders that people just gravitate towards. And then there are those that, because of their larger than life persona, get people to follow them. Not necessarily by who they were, but who they are becoming. And I think that would be Negan, and that would be Ezekiel and Jadis. So I think there are two kind of different kinds of leadership, but in a way, but like I said, all the leaders of the major groups, all their leaders, Maggie and Rick, even though they don't put on the persona, have a larger than life, persona given to them by their people. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But now what this does for me is it opens other questions. So obviously she lives, right? We know Jadis, she doesn't die amongst her people. And Rick has no clue what happened to her. He's like, well, I think she lived. We saw her kind of go somewhere. So she's alive. He made that assumption. But going forward, is she going to act like a regular person, her regular self, or is she going to slide back into that persona? Because Rick has seen the other side of her now. So it's been shown. What is going to happen as we go forward with this character? What's going to happen to her? Because Ezekiel slides right back into persona. Like, he only lets a few select people see that other side of him. He is that way all the time. He's got his face all the time. But I wonder, though, will Jadis let that go? All her people are gone. Is she going to let that go and do something else? Is she going to be like Rick's worst enemy now?
I know. I don't know. I mean, Jadis does, at least in her persona, that she doesn't hold a grudge. But then again, she doesn't keep her word. Yep. And Rick told her, this is all your fault. And it was. And I think that actually did affect her. Because if she had not double-crossed Rick, if she had kept to the deal, all right, none of this would have happened, because they would have had enough to overcome Negan to begin with. So everything that's happened since then stems from her betrayal of Rick.
Yeah.
And, so I don't think that she is going to be Rick's worst enemy, but she might be Negan's.
Yeah, especially after Simon. Okay, let's talk about Simon. Yeah. Oh my God, Simon. Dude.
Yeah. Dissension in the ranks. Yes, you can feel it spreading, through the stages. It is. And it's only... Okay, so obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you know what he did. So Simon killed all of the trash people except for Jadis. When he was told, you kill one person. And he's like, but, he's whining like a little bratty kid. And Negan's like, do what I tell you to do. Right. Well, so then there was that very confrontational moment, though, where Negan says, this works for us. Yeah. And Simon says, it hasn't been lately.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the first time I have ever seen Simon that boldly contradict Negan. Because up to this point, it has been very much him in lockstep with Negan. And I think it might have taken Negan back a step, too.
Yeah. Now, I know what I would like to see happen with that, because, that they're clearly going to be people that believe more of what Simon says. They believe Simon's ways versus Negan's ways. But I don't want to see a fight internally. To me, it could be more interesting if Simon and his people go, and we see them later.
Well, and, if anyone has watched The Talking Dead afterwards, I saw the sneak peek of next week, and Eugene is now no longer enthralled with Negan. And you see him doing, not quite as blatantly, but almost the same thing as Simon is doing, is going, it's not working for us. You can see there is absolute doubt. So, I mean, if Negan's, commanders, his lieutenants are starting to question what is going on. So we know that, Simon is, going off on his own place. Eugene now is apparently not real happy. And then, what's his name from the kingdom? He's dead.
Yeah.
And so, that's half of his lieutenants right there, gone.
Yeah. But, it doesn't surprise me at all to hear about Eugene, because as we've said, like on previous episodes, Eugene is about himself. He's about what makes most sense for him at that time.
Right.
And if he thinks what Negan is doing is dumb and it's not going to work, he's going to start doing something else, because it's now against his interest of keeping himself safe.
Never underestimate, Eugene's sense of self-preservation.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with he's doing something that's immoral or anything like that. It's only, does this work in my, best case?
Now, I will say that, again, Eugene has shown some remorse in his own way for what's going on. There was, I know that he's having some terrible thoughts about what happened to Sasha. That's the source of his drinking at night now. And then he let, the father go. And knowing that was against everything that Negan wanted, he still let him go, and the doctor. So, and, I think when Eugene finds out about Carl, and I'm sure he will, that's going to be another thing that's going to make Eugene...
I'm sorry, I have to laugh because I still feel like you give him too much credit.
No, I think but again, I think it goes into his calculations on self-preservation. But again, if Eugene is not with Negan, Negan's going to have problems. Whether it's, because he feels bad for the Hillside group now, or if it's because he's just against Negan and what he's doing and doesn't think that it's going to be good for self-preservation. Either way, it's bad for Negan.
Well, Negan survived just fine before Eugene, so
yeah,
maybe,
but it's
not.
The fact that Eugene can actually, he has talent, for the things that he does, so he could cause trouble.
Yeah,
if he chose to do so, or if he took Simon's side.
Well, I guess we're going to have to see next week what Eugene is actually doing. But as far as this episode, Simon has really, he's really grown a pair, for lack of a better term.
Oh, yeah. He's gone off the reservation.
Yeah, he's gone off the rails. He's like, dude, I don't care what you say, your lessons or messages, I'm not about that. I'm going to deliver my own.
Well, and now did you find, and I thought this was interesting. All right. The speech, in a very twisted way, that he gave to Simon was almost identical to what Carl was saying, to Michonne and Rick. And that was, if we're going to survive this world, we have to be, we can't kill everyone off. And that's what Negan was saying to Simon. It can't, we are there to save people. However twisted Negan is doing it, he does, in his own mind, think that that's what he's doing. He is saving people, legitimately. They make an example, they kill the one person, they get everyone under their control, and they are saving them. Whether the people agree with him or not, does make him a despot, dictator, but he still sees himself as their savior. So he doesn't want wholesale killing, and he does have that almost same vision that Carl has, as twisted as it, but all twisted up. Carl saw this free society where everyone worked communally and together, and Negan has the same thing, but it's all under his domain.
Yeah, and it's funny about Negan, feeling like he's doing the right thing, because, we've had in other conversations, not necessarily about The Walking Dead, but about, with a sympathetic villain, where you can relate to the villain. in this case, that is not what's happening to me. I mean, even though he feels he's doing the right thing, the audience still cannot cannot relate, and so that he's still a hated person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Okay, so let's just kind of skip a little bit because I'm really curious to see what you think about this. Do you think that Negan's reaction to hearing about Carl's death, did it come off as genuine to you? Did you believe it when you saw it?
You know, I knew. I predicted that Negan would take it badly. Mm-hmm. And you could even hear it, and he's lashing out at Rick right now. This is your fault. If you had just done what I said and been good little boys and girls, your son would still be alive. Now, that's not necessarily true because anything could have happened. Mm-hmm. But I think because the question that Negan asked was, was it me? Was it the Saviors? Was it the fire? And I think he was praying, to himself that it was not, because he doesn't want to take any responsibility for Carl's death, because he did, in his own twisted way, very much like Carl.
Yeah, he liked him as his mini-me. He saw him as his, his mini-me. Like, I will train him. He will switch to my way. He will be made in my likeness.
Yeah. And I think in his mind, he was going to somehow get Carl away from Rick and make him into he was going to condition him to be the next leader of the Saviors. Mm-hmm. And so I do think he took it badly, because all of these dreams that he had wrapped up in Carl are gone. Yeah. And he is going to blame Rick, whether it was Rick's fault or not. And it wasn't Rick's fault.
Yeah, but
it wasn't anybody's fault.
I don't think that Negan is sad for Carl because it's Carl. He's sad for Carl because he lost his possible linchpin.
Well, but that's Negan.
He's the future. He's my future. He didn't, okay, so obviously when when a father loses a son, that's my son, that's my kid. He died too soon. When Negan's thinking about it, he's like, dang, that was my mini-me that died. Dang it. Yeah. Not that he actually liked him or loved him or anything like a family or a friend. He just was like, I think he had a likeness for him and what Carl could have done for him. So he's missing that. Yeah.
I mean, the difference is Negan loved him as a prized possession.
Yes.
Not as a person. And I will agree with that. But yeah, I think it did affect it. I mean, because even at the beginning of the episode, before he knew about Carl, he made the comment, he asked about Carl. Mm-hmm. And he's like, damn, that kid's a survivor. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and he was he had no doubt in his mind that he was going to confront again, Carl, and he had a certain bizarre admiration for him as well. But again, it's more of a look how well my possession has done kind of thing. So
exactly.
I know that Carl was, with the letters, hoping that maybe there could be some kind of peace brokered between Rick and Negan. But if anything, this has further concreted their divide, because Rick blames Negan for Carl's death and Negan blames Rick for Carl's death.
See,
and
I'm
there's
not sure
no compromise.
That he blames him, because the reason, when he asked him, well, what happened, he said he was trying to help someone. He did not say it's your fault. He said what really happened.
Right.
But I feel like he's still going to kill him anyway, because he feels angry about all the things that have happened thus far. Not necessarily that it's a direct, result of, what happened to Carl, like a direct effect of what happened to Carl. But I get it. I'm kind of glad that Rick didn't go all mushy, because I mean, let's keep it real. This whole time, with exception of how Carl treated that one kid, I can't even think of his name right now, that he found, he has been behind his dad this whole time. He has not been preaching peace this whole time. This is something new. Like, he decided, okay, maybe we don't need to do this. Recently, he decided when he found, the guy by the gas station. This is something new. It's not something he's always preached and always tried to say, I don't like what we're doing. We should da-da-da. No, he's been, let's go kill him. Let's do it. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I think part of Carl's, change was, because if prior to Negan and the whole thing, if they had come across him, he knew that his group would have tried to contact Saeed and bring him in. Negan has disrupted their ability to bring in people because of fear and distrust and everything going on. And I think it's, that was part of his beginning of change, was to realize, we are letting people die. We are letting people go, to try and destroy another group. And he's also heard the other people say, there has to be something. He's listened to Jesus. He's listened to Maggie. He's listened to other people. Yeah. And they've all kind of, and to King Ezekiel. And they've all kind of said the same thing along the way, is somewhere there's going to have to be a point where we go, we're not going to kill everybody.
Yeah,
we're going to have to find that point where we can call the truce.
Yeah. But I think the point I was trying to make was, I think when Rick read those letters, he didn't go soft. He didn't go, oh, he's right. Let's just sing Kumbaya and try to make a deal with Negan. And I think that's realistic. Yeah. I think that even in the end, even in the 9th hour, if Rick, shows him some mercy and doesn't kill him, he's going to make it known, dude, I beat you and you are under my foot because this has to stop. And I feel like that is the best result. I don't think at this point in the game they can shake hands in the middle.
Yeah.
We're past that. No matter what Carl dreamed, we're past that.
Right. Oh, and I don't think at this point anybody from Hilltop or the Kingdom or the remainders of Alexandria are going to look at Negan and go, yeah, we're going to give you a pass. Come in. I think there is going to be the active wanting to kill him. And again, in the comic books, he does go on, and continues to cause problems, but now with the death of Carl and everything else, obviously
it could go anyway.
It could go any which way.
Yeah, and honestly, they can use Simon for that now. Honestly, he can come back and make trouble for them later if they decide to let him go off instead of making an inner fight with Negan.
And I could even see this happening. Simon gathering up his group of people because, Simon said, let's go find greener pastures. Let's go find another group to terrorize. So I could see Simon gathering up his few faithful, however many they are, and taking off with, a fourth or a third of Negan's forces. And I could see another part of him kind of siding over with the Eugene side going, this ain't working for us.
Yeah.
And, and then there's Negan left with whatever he's got left with. And I could see, him being killed, and at that point Rick going, okay, maybe we'll go through the rest and see if we can keep them or not.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much more to come. I keep hearing people mention the Whispers. So I think those are another group of people that could be coming soon. So they're gonna have other opposition. They're gonna have other struggles beyond Negan and this whole fiasco. So we don't. In my opinion, there's no need to drag it out. Kill him.
Yeah.
Why?
Just let him go. Just let him go.
Especially since, like you mentioned before, we're already off the rails from the comic book. So at this point, anything goes.
Exactly. So I don't know, but I do know that I really did enjoy this episode, and that I did have a moment of just for Michonne. I'm just like, oh, Michonne, you're gonna have to let it go, sweetie. You're gonna have to let it go, and that was the gazebo.
Yeah.
The entire town is on fire.
Don't do it. Yeah.
The whole town's, it's either on fire or blown up, or there's walkers coming in, and she can't, they can't even shut the gate at this point because it's stuck. And, she wants to save the gazebo. And I understand it, but that was kind of her last that last moment there where she's like, I have to hold on to this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could see how hard it was for her to let it go. And I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
Because she
had her moment. She had her moment, but she got back level-headed real fast. And now I think she's trying to keep Rick level-headed. Like, she's not, overbearing as far as trying to get him to do a certain thing, but she's constantly saying in his ear, hey, you want to read these letters? Hey, it's okay to take a break. Hey, you want, so it's kind of like,
over? You want to take you want to take 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. And because she knows that Rick is, I mean, he I don't know how, he's going to have a moment where he's just going to go berserk. Mm-hmm. I hope that moment is when he is face to face with Negan and he, grabs the bat away from him and,
him.
Yeah. Bludgeons him to death with his own bat, which would just be, and then sets the bat and him on fire. Yeah. I would really like to see that scene.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind it.
I think there would be a nice symmetry to it.
Yeah. And the only thing, okay, so we talked about so many good things, but the one little section of this episode that was a snore fest was Ingrid and Aaron.
That whole thing was just, I don't know. I didn't like the way how that panned out. I mean, Ingrid, there was no remorse. She was just like, yeah, I killed her. She was stupid.
Yeah.
And while having a teenage daughter, I could kind of understand that attitude, okay? Because I've heard, not those words, but that sentiment out of my daughter's mouth. At the same time, you're like, you just did actually kill the leader of this group.
Yeah.
Of course, she was the main reason why they have withdrawn and not engaged with anybody. But, yeah, I don't know. I had hopes for Oceanside, but I'm losing hope for him.
Yeah, and so, like, my thing is this. Like, when did Ingrid and Aaron become so tight? And by that I mean, I don't recall them having a lot of screen time together where they've developed a friendship where all of a sudden he's like, you leave. And she's like, no, I don't want to leave you. And he's like, don't die. And she's like, you too. That whole fiasco. I'm like, that's stupid. Are you guys even that tight? I didn't even know you guys were that tight. Like, why are we doing this right now? Like,
well, I mean, they did have their little trek together, and there was some bonding and stuff. And I mean, he did, and he just lost, his boyfriend or husband, I can't remember, and so I don't know. Ingrid really hasn't really let a lot of people close to her. Mm-hmm. There was Carl, and a little bit with Maggie.
Yeah,
but she really hasn't been close to anybody. She hasn't allowed herself. She has intentionally kept herself on the outside of things. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe she felt something for him, or maybe it was a change of heart. I mean, she has been kind of trying to get a little bit closer with the group. So, I don't know.
I know.
But, yeah, that coldness about...
I couldn't wait until the screen went away from them, because I'm like, ugh. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of boring on screen, not being funny, but I am curious to see if Aaron actually manages to scrape together some people from Oceanside by hanging around, or if he's just going to end up dead.
I think he'll get a couple, or who knows, maybe he'll bring the whole group. I don't know. My guess is he won't die, not yet. But I'm a little disappointed in Oceanside. I mean, I understand that hiding has worked for them up to this point. Mm-hmm. And Ingrid did make a point of, you can't kill everybody that comes to you. Mm-hmm. Eventually you're going to have to be a community or you're going to die out.
Yeah.
Because they are only women. They're not going to have any more children. So either this is it forever and you will never, your community is dead before it's even started. You're going to have to start letting people in. End of discussion. And they are still adamantly opposed to that. But it's self-defeating. It is absolutely self-defeating. There's not a single male in that encampment.
Right. Yeah. Ugh. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with them. They're always going to be like secondary. Unless something major happens and then suddenly they're pulled into the thick of things. They're kind of just like this throwaway group where when they want to fill some time, they just send someone there, and it just feels like a waste of energy to even try to engage them. So maybe it will be different later, but right now I don't really like spending time at Oceanside. So
I just had the funniest idea all of a sudden. What if Jaden somehow stumbles across the Oceanside people and becomes their new leader?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, that could be crazy.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just suddenly hit me. I'm like, oh, that would just be funny. We've got a group without a leader and a leader without a group.
Yeah, because old girl, the granddaughter, whatever her name is, she's not a strong enough person to hold that group.
Yeah.
All it will take is someone strong to come in and sway them, and they'll yank the group right from up under her. She's not bold enough to hold them. So
yeah. So and now that Jadis is actually speaking in complete sentences again, she could be an effective leader for them.
She might. I mean, if she stopped being so sleazy, she probably would get them all killed.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah, there's that. So overall, I really liked this episode. Like I was telling you earlier, I really enjoyed the fact that we were kind of bouncing from place to place. It really helped with the pacing. I think that overall it was well done because, like I had said a little bit earlier off air, we didn't see everyone. So it wasn't too much, but it was just enough to keep things moving. And I really liked that format, and I hope they continue with it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't even just stick with one group within their, they had, they had Michonne, and then they had Simon, and, so on and so forth. So, I mean, they even within that kind of bounced around a little bit, which I did like. Mm-hmm. So, and they were playing off of each other. So, I kind of hope they keep that up, because the format was good. I liked it.
Agreed. So, one interesting fact, if you guys don't know, Angela Kane, who is the new showrunner starting season 9, she wrote this episode. So, yeah. I mean, if this is a little sign of what's to come, I'm on board for it because I really liked it. So,
now, do you ever see any of the the little clippets that they have in between commercials? Because I know you don't have regular cable.
I've seen some of the little red, was it the red hatchet or whatever? Yeah,
it's the hat.
A few, but not all of them.
Because I'm wondering if that's going to relate back more to The Walking Dead, or if it's going to relate back more to The Walking Dead, or Fear the Walking Dead. Because it could go either way, and I'm kind of wondering, because I'm wondering if this is going to be the new group of bad guys.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to fall into Fear of the Walking Dead because the last one did. Like, the last one, they had, like, a plane outbreak. Right. And some of those people filtered into that show. They weren't permanent. They weren't permanent stays in that show, but they were sprinkled here and there through episodes. So
right. And I did know that. So, like I said, I was just kind of wondering, since we are doing the switch over, if they're going to, have a role to play where at. But when you were mentioning the Whisperers, since we don't know who they are, we could be seeing like the beginnings of that group of bad guys coming in.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go back and try to find them all, because I know with the other snippets or whatever, the mini-sodes, I know once they're all posted, usually you can find them online, like all seen together. So I might try to find that like after it's done and just watch them all at once, so it's like one complete story.
Yeah, because they're following the hatchet right now, and it just keeps falling into the worse and worse hands. Okay. And right now, I can't remember the actor's name now, but I recognize him. He plays good bad guys, And but yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if they might be propping or showing him coming to power, how he's kind of coalesced his people, and to be the next big bad for next season.
Maybe. I don't know. That'd be interesting. Maybe I'll have some feedback on that after I watch all the episodes, kind of see, because I've only seen it here and there, and I'm kind of, only half paying attention to it. Right. So, yeah, but I'll definitely check it out once it's all done and it's all sewed together, so I can just watch it.
I understand.
Yeah. Good stuff. So I think we're done. Do you think we're done with episode 10?
I think we are. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in. For those of you that are live, again, sorry for the delay, but we appreciate you for being here. And we will catch you guys next week. And until next time, happy viewing. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed today's The Walking Dead special live episode and you would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcast and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow both myself and Lisa on Twitter. Please follow the Shelf Edition podcast on Spreaker, the only place where you can listen live and get broadcast notifications so that you never miss a live episode. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy The Walking Dead. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy viewing.